I remember there was a time when there was no T-shirts for sale. I'd go to shows, there was nothing for sale. There's no Jimi Hendrix shirts at the concert. Matter of fact, my Mr. Big manager, Herbie Herbert, he was the guy, I'm pretty sure this is true, who said, why don't we sell T-shirts at the show with the band's name on them? And Winterland, the company that he'd founded, was the first major merchandise company because that just didn't exist. So things are different in a lot of ways. The good thing is it's a little more comfortable on a good tour, a cushy tour. If you're playing 800,000, maybe 1,200 seaters, 3,000 seaters, there's always a decent dressing room and they take good care of you and there's nice food there and comfortable and relaxed. So you can really be ready to do a show. I still do shows where there's just horrific conditions and awful, and there's nothing, and there isn't even a mirror in the dressing room, so you can see if you make sure your hair is okay or whatever, or what's left of it is okay. Uh, and no food anywhere, no bathroom. You had to go walk through the crowd to get to a bathroom and it's tough at sometimes because everybody. I hate to violate the showbiz rule. I don't want to be seen before the show. The first time you see somebody, Johnny Carson, you don't see him before. And now here is Johnny. Bang, there he is. You don't hang out with him before the show because you lose the impact of that first thing. That's a showbiz maxim. So, but it makes it difficult sometimes. I try to follow the rules and do as best I can. But for me, the whole point of it is just that there's people there that want to hear music and we want to play it. And we want to play it for them and they want to hear it from us. So that's the bottom line of it all. So a cushy dressing room or catered meals, it doesn't really matter to me. I've never been, hey, there'll be a pizza after the show. I'm good. I'm totally good with that. So I never needed I say, hey, what's it like being a rock star? I don't know. I'm a musician. So
I guess there is that difference, right? The rock star music. Is there such a thing as a rock star musician? You can be both, maybe?
no, I don't want to be. I'll just be a musician. Yeah, for me, I'm half kidding about that, but rock star in my mind conjures up like an elite. Oh, don't you know who I am? I've never been like that. It's funny. I get letters from people, emails as yeah, you played this place in 1978, and I brought my bass down, and you adjusted it for me and showed me how to do the pickups, and and I forget about those things. I've kind of like been like that always. Even now, somebody says, "Hey, I got my bass in the car. Will you take a look at it?" Sure, I got my screwdriver. I'll fix it up for you. So I never had that. And again, it comes from playing clubs in the early days where there was no separation between the audience and the band. And sometimes our stages were, 5 or 6 inches high. And we were just barely. And the tall guys in the room were taller than we were. On stage. It's funny. So yeah, that was a good way to grow up, and I think it helps instill some sensibilities towards what your relationship with the audience should be, because they're just like you, and you're just like them. And I sit down at a table. Hey, how'd you like the new song? We played "Day of the Eagle" by Robin Trower. Oh, great! You should play more Robin Trower. Okay, a little bit of Sympathy and Daydream. We come up with a few more. You put our thumb on the pulse of what's going on, what they like and what they don't. That's always a good thing.
I got to add that you are very approachable, and that's why at the very beginning I had to really apologize. And I approached you like, "Hey, I've known Billy for a long time. Hey, how's it going?" It's like, no, but you are a very approachable person, so I say thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to because I like people, and people have been great to me. It's some wonderful friends I met through the years in the biz, out of the biz, outside of the biz, uh, and I have just a wonderful circle of people that I know. So I'm thankful for that.
We're grateful that you put out the music that you do, and so kind of going back to that with the Fell and your new music, you're writing
Yeah,
some new music.
exciting. Yeah, I posted a video of me learning the songs,
Yeah.
and because I go over them a million times and I play along. And sometimes I'll play just totally straight, exactly how it's supposed to go. Sometimes even abbreviated version of that, where I'm listening more and playing less. And sometimes I'm I'm experimenting with what more I can do. We want to match what we do on the record, of course, but there's always been a little bit of wiggle room in a live performance. Early on, I got a couple of great live records that were so important to me. And I heard the songs that the band was famous for, and then the live version, and see, wow, there's a difference. I'm a Man by the Yardbirds. The studio version is pretty straight shot, bang, 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 done, song over. The live version was a utter chaos, glorious chaos. It were all over the place. The harmonica solos and the bass players. Paul Samuel Smith was amazing. Jeff Beck or Eric Clapton. Not sure who played on which particular one, but there was just great stuff. So the difference between doing it for like the record, which is important, uh,
Mhm.
and how much of a liberty you can take is an interesting thing. And it usually varies as the band goes on. You start out, you're doing everything to the letter, and then by the end, there's some improvisation going on. But Rolling Stones got Live If You Want It. Turns out a lot of that record wasn't actually live, but you could tell some of it was. And that was an interesting thing. And Hendrix Band of Gypsies, another great live record. Uh, Wheels of Fire by Cream. Uh, some great stuff. So you hear them move around with it. So we're at the stage now. We're going to go out and play this stuff as accurately as possible, and then it'll grow creatively. There'll be a little extended thing here. We'll cut that part out there. We'll go right into the next song from this one without a break. You know, things that you start to figure out live. So it's always an interesting evolution.
Yeah. So I play a little bit of bass, and for one, I like having a set list, and I like being able to, okay, this is how it goes, and play it, so I can put it in muscle memory, and then
Exactly.
like so once I get it down really tight, I'm not concentrating on how I'm playing or what I'm playing. I'm just playing and doing it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I commented in the thing. I don't like to think. To have to
Yeah.
think what's next. Was that because then you're not. It's like just like a conversation. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to say next. It's just coming out, and you are doing the same thing. If you have to stop and think, maybe I'll talk about when I was in a club. Yeah, and you've probably talked to people who, as you're speaking to them, they're not listening. They're thinking about what they're going to say next, and it's
Yes.
annoying. And I don't like it at all. I can see them drift off, and a couple of times I'll just stop and say, "What did I just say?" And they have no idea. They have no
It's like,
idea what I just said. What they were thinking. So,
yeah.
to, and I forgot who I got the quote from originally, but if you think, you stink. I'm coming as far as applied to musicians playing. If you're thinking, you're probably stinking. You know, and it's not a
Yeah.
real conversation. This because music is a communication between you and the audience, and no different than a conversation in many respects.
Yeah. It's yes, it is. It's so true. Yeah. Um, and sometimes when you're not thinking about something else, all of a sudden you're going, huh, what do I say next? But I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, because
Because I still want
there's a rhythm to a conversation. There's a rhythm to band and audience where
yeah.
I think one famous person uh, made a parallel between with boxers. He said there's types of boxers. I hope I remember it. There's uh, sharpshooters, counter punchers, jammers, and runners. The runners run away. The jammers get in there and pound it. Sharpshooters sit back and punch when they can. And I forgot the other one. But he applied that to audiences. And sometimes you play a song, they'll clap a little bit, but they'll wait, you know. And sometimes they're in it with you jamming from the beginning, like, all right, let's go. And everybody's having a right. So it's a similar thing. And there's probably more categories than that, I imagine. But it was an intellectual way of looking at it.
Well, you know what? That for me, I always I used to do photography for bands and things like that. And you see everybody always shooting the guys up front. And this goes for musicians. You hear, oh, the lead guitar player and the singer, but the rest of the band's kind of forgotten. So I'm asking you, the Fell, who are the rest of the guys in the band?
Toby Rand is the singer. Toby is an Australian guy who was on the TV show Rockstar Supernova. I
Yes.
was a film man. I don't watch TV that much, but he did great on that and got a million fans and played TV. Really cool. The first time I heard him, I'll get into that later. I just instantly loved his voice. Wonderful guy, great singer, great songwriter too. Lyrics have meaning. So great. He just presented this one song, uh, and the hook and the chorus is, "If you could love yourself the way I love you." And I thought, what a great sentiment. How many people know somebody who just don't they don't have regard for themselves? You have regard for them, but if you would love yourself as much as I loved you, you wouldn't be doing that insane shit to yourself. I thought it was a
Yeah.
great uh, way to look at things. Really cool. And then a couple other ones he's done that lyrically just really excellent, and they touch people. It's really cool. Mike Crumpus on guitar. He played with Smash Mouth. He's really a great producer and recording engineer too, and a drummer. So sometimes we'll be just together. Go, oh, let me go quick lay drums down. I go, you? He goes down and nails it. And his guitar playing is just great. He's kind of been the founder of this band. On drums, we have Nick, and I'm not going to try and pronounce his Italian last name without my wife's help, and she's not here. But Nick from Toronto is just a great player. He sings as well, and uh, uh, we started the band. Mike called me out of nowhere, or no, looked me up on Facebook and sent a message and said, "Hey, I got a bunch of songs that need bass. You want to come down?" And I didn't know him; he didn't know me. So I said, "Sure." And I drove down to a studio, a nice little place, and we started laying. As I'm laying the bass, I'm going, "Man, these songs are great. Who's that singer?" It's Toby Rand, okay. And we loved it. So at the end of the session, we had some laughs and had a great time. He's a nice guy. And he said, "Well, I can pay as a sideman for the tracks," which is pretty standard operating procedure. Uh, or, if you'd be interested in maybe starting a band. I said, "Hey, I love these songs." And usually bands are built by bringing people and you know how they play. And
Hmm.
that's the only criteria. Where this one was started from, we got these songs that I love, you know. So it was built in a different way, built around the actual songs as opposed to the people that were playing it and singing it. So that was kind of an interesting twist for me. I don't think I've ever put a band together like that, where the songs were what we would get to later. We'll get the people and the players, and then let's see if we can get songs. I've been lucky so far. Most of the bands we had some good songs, but this one was built from the songs up, which I thought was really cool.
That is a little different, a little cool. Yeah. It's as a local musician, that's sometimes a difficult thing to do, meaning finding the right players that kind of fit the puzzle together. Everybody can play well, but can they play well together type of situation. So,
Yeah,
um,
playing together is a skill that anyone can learn, I believe.
mhm,
Some people obviously are better at it than others. Automatically, you can work on it to build your skills there. I've
yeah.
played in bands since the very beginning, and playing together has been playing with drummers. I've told the story a million times. I'm sorry, but the guy who I began bass because of, Joe Hesse. Uh, he was rehearsing at his house, and they wouldn't let me come in because I was a little kid. My older brothers and sisters could go listen to them rehearse, but not me. It was during the daytime, and I heard the band, so I ran over there and knocked on the door, and he let me in because, yeah, and it was just Joe and his drummer. I said, "Joe, what's going on?" I didn't even own a bass. I didn't start playing bass yet. "What's going on? Where's the rest of the band?" He goes, "Well, see, the drums and the bass, I got to work together. So when he hits a drum, I got to play a note. I got to lock in with what he's playing, and uh, that's the heart of the band." So before I even owned a bass, I learned the most important point of bass playing is that you play with the drums. So playing with a band ensemble, yeah, you play with the drums. Now you also guide the guitarist as to what key we're in with the bass note in many cases, uh, and just create that low frequency for the whole band. So as a bass player, there's certain skills you got to pay attention to. Not difficult to
Mhm.
master, but those are things that you must do. later on, you can experiment and do whatever you want, and it's art and it's free form, and you can express yourself as you wish. But basically, learning the skill set to perform with other players is a very important thing. I'm worried about a lot of players I see now who are on YouTube or whatever, collecting likes and clicks. Some of them spectacular players, but can they play in a band? Can they perform that live? I don't know. I hope so. If so, there's some amazing players out there. Very,
Wow.
very impressive. I'm stealing all their licks too. So
Well, I mean, to go along with that, you come across, like you says, the guys who are phenomenal musicians, instrumentalists. They play their instrument really well, but then when you put them together with two, three, four other guys, it's impossible to play with them because they don't follow the drum or they don't follow. They're playing to
yeah,
themselves, and that makes it so
exactly.
difficult.
Yeah, I like to advise them when they ask to just some kid will send me a tape of him playing bass and look, I'm soloing. I go, that's good, bro, but you got to learn a song and you got to get a drummer. Get a drummer, any drummer you can find. Get together, learn 10 songs. Pick your 10 favorite songs and learn bass and drums on those songs. Get a guitar player, have him join you. Get a singer, have him join you. But that's the elemental thing you really need to know. And I'm so lucky that I had inadvertently fallen right into that pool from the very beginning, and it has served me incredibly well that I paid a lot of attention to that in my very early years.
To go along with that, while you were either growing up and playing when you first started, or even into your professional career, was there we'll call it a virtuoso guitar player, musician that you've played with that you've maybe learned something from or kind of changed the way you play a little bit?
To some degree, but I it went the other way a lot of times. I don't mean to say that with any self-aggrandizement. I apologize, but I remember so many guitar players. So how do you do that tapping thing? Kind of interesting. But yeah, I learned more. I think really from drumming
Mhm.
and the rhythm of it, and also I listened to a lot of non-guitarish bassist instruments. A lot of piano, a lot of classical music, a lot of jazz, saxophone, uh, and bass players too. But I wasn't. I So I learned guitar so I could write songs, and I know chords. And I always tell people I got up to like the Neil Young level of guitar playing, and that's pretty much what my guitar solos sound like too. I can do kind of a fake shred, but I don't really know what I'm doing on guitar. So, but to write songs is so much easier on guitar for me than bass. So I do write on bass as well. So there wasn't so much guitar players that were the guys influenced me. So, of course, a couple of stellar examples: Hendrix and Van Halen and Richie Blackmore, and a long, long list. But there was also a long list of bass players and drummers too. I
Mhm.
saw Billy Cobham way early on, one of the greatest drummers ever. He played with a band called Dreams and had the Brecker brothers on horns. And just later on, he became the icon of most drummers out of the '70s. He's the greatest, one of the greatest players ever. So guys like that, I was watching a lot. Not so much guitar players, to some degree, of course. There was a Richie Blackmore lick in "Strange Kind of Woman" by Deep Purple. I heard that. I go, whoa, wait, what is that? I take the needle and learn it again. So all the good parts of my records had scratches on them because I had to try to learn them. So yeah, I would learn some guitar riffs once in a while, but it was mostly other instruments outside of the typical rock ensemble.
Okay. Would that be a tip for upcoming bass players? Is
Well, yeah,
to
because it will take you out of that strings and frets uh, mode.
Mhm.
Nothing wrong with it. You can do anything with it. But when you get into piano or stringed instruments or wind instruments, uh, they have different ways of getting their notes, and they're not locked into the patterns that we can inadvertently or intentionally fall into. You'll see a basic blues lick, that. Hold on one second. So like a basic, like a thing like that's a common kind of a pentatonic scale. A million songs are made out of it. You start to get used to playing like that. A sax player wouldn't necessarily do that, nor a trumpet player or trombone player or a cellist. Cellos and violins are tuned in fifths, so their stretch between notes is completely different. So they tend to lean a different way. So to follow those guys a little bit and take inspiration from them, it kind of pushes you out of the ordinary, of the typical ways you would do things, which for me is a good thing in moderation. You don't want to go so far out that nobody knows what you're doing, or it's not making any sense, or it doesn't make any musical. There's nothing good about it, or nothing appealing about it. So just to break, as I practice, I'm down here in my little spot here. I feed the cats and come down here for hours every morning, uh, and spend a lot of times breaking out of what I already do. I do this thing, and I keep doing that. Okay, now do it backwards. Okay, do it in every key. Do it from the middle to the ends. Do it from the ends to the middle. All these different ways of looking at it. So it helps you, I think, become a more unique player and identifiable. Sometimes people will write to me and say, they just heard a little snippet of a song and instantly they knew it was me. And I take that as I'm very thankful for a compliment like that, that what I do to some, not to all, might be identifiable. And I remember back in the day, Jeff Beck, Clapton, and Jimmy Page. And some people said, well, I can't tell the difference. I go, all of us musicians, we instantly know, oh, that's Jeff Beck. Oh, that's Clapton. Oh, that's Page. Instantly, just by the little nuances of their playing. So I wanted to have that also. I wanted to have things about my playing that were not wildly different, but just unique in some aspects. And and again, it wasn't necessarily like I planned that. I just kind of did it, and that happened. My explanation comes from now to the past. I didn't think it up back then and then do it. A lot of the things I did just kind of happened, and I could explain it later on. So the time sequence is backwards.
Well, you do have a unique, uh, not just your playing, I'll say playing style, but the tone, the sound that you get too. At
Yeah,
least for me in my ear, what I hear is different. It's got a different sound, and I don't know if it's because of your bass, your rig. By the way, I would love to own the Attitude 3, but it's hard to find a used one, and even when I do, it's too expensive, Billy. I can't afford that.
yeah, they're handmade in Japan, and I've been to the factory, and you could literally serve a meal on the floor of that factory and eat
Ah,
it with confidence. It is so clean and so righteous, and they take care of every single little detail. So yeah, they are expensive, and a couple of times we've done a cheaper version, but they don't like to do that because they don't want to besmirch the uh, uh, altitude of the attitude base that it has. But I'm gonna hit him again and say, could we do like a stripped down version, just make it easier and cheaper for people, just to have one? Because even the low price ones that we did, they were great. I've got a couple of them still here up on the wall somewhere. My little bass emporium down here. Uh, but yeah, they are pricey. You can get them used, and there's a lot of guys that sell parts on a few Facebook pages where some will come up for sale, and I get on there and answer questions about them, and I got a lot of friends on those pages. So yeah, they're well. Anyway, back to your original question about tone. My original bass, the uh, the P bass was my original uh, bass here that I started with. This is 1967 or 68. I added that pickup because Paul Samuel Smith from the Yardbirds had an Epiphone. I hope I don't lose you walking around here with the cell service. Had an Epiphone Rivoli bass, which is this bass with that big pickup there, and it had an
uh-huh.
amazing low end tone that I love. So before I got my original bass, from Art Kubera Music Store, 910 Fillmore at Sycamore. He let me take an EBO or Epiphone Rivoli bass home to have until my bass came in because I ordered it. So it was this amazing tone. And so I love Paul Samuel Smith and the Yardbirds. He's just the biggest, huge influence on me. So when I got the P bass, that was amazing. And oh, this is an incredible sound too. But what about the low pickup sound? So I thought, well, why don't I get one of those pickups and put it on my bass? And I was taking wood shop in high school, so I knew a little bit about routing and a little bit about woodworking. So I don't remember how I got the pickup from Gibson because I didn't have a checking account or no credit cards. This was about 1970, 1969 or 70 when I did it. But I ended up with one, and it was already pre-wired, and I didn't know how to wire it into the same output. So I did a separate output for the Gibson pickup and a separate left the output for the Fender pickup. And I used two cords plugged into two channels. That was good. And then I ended up getting two amps, one amp for the Gibson bass, one amp for the Fender tone. And the Gibson tone was super deep, was low, no articulation, just a sine wave, just a giant. And the Fender had all the character and harmonics, but not the same amount of low end. So mixing that together live, it worked out great because there's always this deep low end. Even if you go up high and do some fancy schmancy stuff, the low end never goes away. It was really great. Now, I wasn't the only one who did that, though I didn't get it from anyone else. Other people came up with the same idea in different parts of the world. Mel Shacker from Grand Funk Railroad had a big EBO pickup on his jazz bass. I just saw the guy who produced Tony Visconti produced all the great records in England and produced a lot of the great Bowie records. Had a bass with a Gibson EBO on it. The guy from Redbone, hey, what's the matter? That guy, the bass player had an EBO pickup on his P bass. So a lot of people independently came up with the same idea. And the idea of two outputs, Rickenbacker had the Rico sound output, which is a stereo plug. And you go that each pickup went into its own amp. Alembic, one of the first handmade, really high-end, expensive basses, had a Canon connector on their bass for two outputs. Each pickup went to a separate amp. So having that allows you to get just a broader range. And I grew up mostly in a three-piece band, so we needed that just more. That low end couldn't go away. If I had to do a part on bass because we didn't have a keyboard player or rhythm player, I had to do this extra little part to make the song sound like it's supposed to sound. Uh, the bass wouldn't go away; it would still be there because of the dual output. So that was a whole theory behind it, and it's worked out really well. And a lot of other people do it, and a lot of people with the attitude bass love that. And I see a guy just sent me a real expensive handmade bass company. I forgot the name. Pretty well known with the EBO pickup on the neck position. I don't know if they got it from me or not, but it makes sense to do that. And the tone of a pickup by the neck is also super deep, and it's a
Mhm.
beautiful thing. So that was a long answer. Sorry.
Hey, I learned a lot, and so did everybody else. Now we're all going to go out there and try that. But as far as tone and playing with people and bass cutting through the mix and things like that, do you prefer playing with one guitar player or two guitar?
Well, I always prefer less instruments,
Okay.
mostly in a three-piece band. And I was into a lot of like Grand Funk, ZZ Top, uh, a lot of bands like that. Add a keyboard player, you add a double guitar. It's cool. It's an interesting thing, but every guy you add means everybody's spot gets a little smaller, which is fine by me. My first band out of high school, we were 11-piece horn band,
Oh,
three singers, four
wow.
horns, guitar, bass, drums, keyboard, and our first gig I made $7 because we had to split the money 11 ways.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
So,
More guys.
the three-piece band is looking more and more better. And that was actually at a time it was a factor. If we would have added a fourth guy, you make $100. That's $33 each. With a fourth guy, it's only 25
Yeah.
each. So, so that was actually kind of a factor. As funny as it is, it was really true. So we made a lot of money. We all had our own apartments and I had tons of gear and all kinds of stuff. So, but I'm thankful for the three-piece education I got there. But four-piece is good, or three-piece with singer. That's good too. But back in the
Yeah.
three-piece thing, everybody had to sing, and even now. So someone will say to me, "I know, it's an amazing guitar player. Oh, really? Oh, he's the greatest thing ever. You're gonna blow your mind. Oh, really? Oh, you're gonna incredible. He plays with the most incredible stuff you've ever heard in your life. Oh, wow. Does he sing? No. I go, I'm good because you got to sing.
Yes. I'm going to throw a shout out because one bass player, I think he's a great bass player, uh, really good singer and guitarist too, is Chip Z'Nuff from Enough's Enough. I was impressed seeing him live
Oh,
playing
Chip's
guitar.
a dear friend of mine. Yeah,
Chip's
yeah,
a
he's a
great guy.
great player, and he's a hell of a character too. I love him completely. He's hilarious.
Yes,
Yeah, we've been
100%.
friends. They were opening act on very first Mr. Big tour. And we had a
Okay.
wonderful time with them. Great people, great band. There's another band that should have probably gone huge, but
Yeah.
it's a tough business.
It it is. Yeah.
Yep.
Like I said, I dabble a little bit, but you get to the point all of a sudden 50 years later, oh, I get to go play in a different state. I get to do a little tour and stuff like that. And you're going, wow, why didn't this happen when I was 18?
Yeah, yeah. It's tough. I did a seminar at Musicians Institute when I first went out to L.A. and I just you know started to get better known, thankfully, in a lot of places, and it was packed. There's about 300 or 400 people there, and I remember saying to them, okay, we got about 400 people there. If one of you makes it, that'll be a lot. And I,
Yeah.
I felt the whole room, oh, Jesus. But I had to amend that with, but there's no reason why every one of you can't make it. Everyone in here has something that you could develop and be hugely successful. There's no reason why any one of you couldn't be at the absolute top of the game, other
Yeah.
than your own thing and your own self and how you carry yourself and what decisions you make. So it is true that if one of you makes it, it's a lot, but there's no reason why every one of you can't. It's just a matter of sometimes it's luck, but you do make your own luck. You
Yes.
and I remember before I got any breaks, I was networking like a fiend. I made phone calls every day. I worked on my gear every afternoon. I practiced all day long. I learned songs. Every night we'd play three, four. We did 21 nights in a row once. We did three complete shows in one day. Set up, tear down, set up, play, tear down, set up, play, tear down. So three in one day, uh, morning, afternoon, and evening. So we hit it hard, 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 and we played everywhere. We played in front of three people and 30,000. All kinds. We just kept going and going and going and going. Eventually, the sky opened up one day, and something fell out of it, hit me on the head, and I got lucky. So, but nevertheless, there's no reason why anyone can't make it. But if it's tough, so that's the reality of it. And sometimes the reality is harsh, but it is
Yes.
reality, and you can manipulate it, and you can make it happen.
Well, what do you think the difference is between, we'll say the 70s, 80s till now? Because as far as the playing and making it and going out and knocking on doors, it seems it's so different now because of the internet.
Yeah.
And because there are now, I don't know why, but it sure seems like there are a hell of a lot of very good musicians. I mean,
Yep. Yeah,
so
I believe
many.
there always has been. There always has been. We
Okay.
just didn't have the internet to know about it. And I think that uh, there's no record companies anymore, really. Used to
Yeah.
be, you'd had a couple of good songs, you'd get in touch with a record company, and if your luck was in order, hey, well, we'll do a demo deal. We'll pay for you to go in and demo some songs in a pro studio, and they would, and they send 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 on a demo, and then somebody liked it, and then they would do a record deal, and you get a bunch of money to make a record, and then they'd support you to go on tour, and then open up for a big band and then do a headline thing. And then pretty soon you're got a platinum record. And that was pretty much how it worked. There's no record companies around anymore.
Yeah.
Not many studios, and it costs a lot to go in a studio. But on the other side, you've got the internet, and you were a couple clicks away from the entire population of the world. You can reach everybody everywhere from this phone that I'm holding right now.
Yeah.
I can send music to people in Indonesia, in Japan, every state of the United States. Uh, and also, you've got production stuff on a laptop, on a phone, or an iPad. You can do a whole record. It sounds great, and it's real. And
Yeah.
play and record drums and record guitar, bass, vocals. What would have cost my software in my little home studio here, if it was all real and in a real studio, it'd be worth millions of dollars. Pultec EQs. Can you find one for less than $75,000 anywhere? No, but I got software versions all day. You got the best. It's digital version of it. Everyone's using it. It works great. Fine. Some golden ear people don't like it, but that's okay. But you can do a whole record, no problem, right in your bedroom. So you don't have to. You don't need $50,000 that you will owe back to them, to the record company, for the rest of your life. And you've got DistroKid and Spotify, and you can get your music out anywhere and start promoting it yourself. So as much as some of the opportunities have gone away, I think they've actually improved now.
Hmm.
That you Because everybody's got access. If you got a laptop or a phone, you can record music, and you
Yeah.
can be in touch. I People contact me from all over the world. Hey, will you play bass on a track? And I said, sure, yeah. So they send me the track. I learn it, nominal fee. I don't charge a lot of money, and hire my engineer to come in, and we lay down a totally pro bass track for them. Send it off to them. They're happy, and they end up doing 10 more tracks with me. So we do a lot of recording here. During the pandemic, we did over 600 tracks for people around the world. Amazing,
Wow.
and we're still doing. We just did 20 in the last 2 weeks, so
Gee.
it just keeps going, and it's cool. A great experience for us. We're playing to all kinds of music, from country to death metal, and some uncategorizable. It's just a riot and great experience. But yeah, so there's great opportunities now. You just have to get out there and get it.
I guess it's marketing, really marketing now, selling your music, selling yourself, because like you said, you can create. You've got a home studio, but people could just use a simple laptop.
Sorry, my cat is laying on my computer.
Oh, is that what?
That's
Oh,
Pepper. She's the sweetest little kitty in the world. And she loves me very much, but that computer's warm. She wants to lay on there.
oh gosh. You know, I want to be aware of the time because I know you're a busy guy, but uh, there are a couple more things I want to ask, and a
Sure.
couple were from um, people who listen to the podcast. And put a quick note out, and I I was praying that you would really be here, Billy, because I thought, all right, I put the word out. Who's gonna? And then what am I gonna
Good,
do?
good.
He's no show. But one listener, and he's actually a bass player who I need to get on the show as well. His name is John, and he's with Rivet Skull. But a couple of his questions I thought were pretty interesting. He was wondering, as far as when you go out on the road, we'll say when you were with a headlining act touring, he wanted to know, was there any comfort item that you took with you when you went on tour, or even now, is there something that you bring along with you? Not your cat, but a
No,
rabbit
not
foot.
really. I'm a road warrior. I can go out with very little. I require very little. Like, I do a clinic sometimes in another country, and they're usually very gracious and generous. We like anything backstage, we can get you this, we can get you that. Just can I get one black coffee before I go on? And then afterwards, if you got a cheap bottle of red, we can share it, and that's about it. That's
Okay.
all. And maybe a bottle of water at some point too would be nice. But yeah, I don't, like I said before, I've never been, and even our when we were out touring and headlining, it was basic stuff. We never got into, we got to have lobster, and I have a gourmet chef or whatever. It's, and I've been on tours that had that. It's cool. It's great. But
But
I just got to get on the stage and play. And
no
not
creature
never
comforts.
not a lot of requirements. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No creature comforts like your pillow that you have to bring with you on tour. It's like this is the only thing I can sleep on.
Oh man, any pillow that endured a tour with me, I don't think anybody would want to. No, I'm kidding. No, there's nothing like it. No, I just have
Uh,
my bass. Usually, my procedure in recent years, I get to the bus pulls to the gig. The crew is out first, setting up. Uh, my tech, which is usually also the guitar tech and stage manager Jeff, wonderful guy. He'll come on. He goes, "I got you set up," and he's got me set up in a dressing room. I go up, my bass is there. I go grab a coffee, sit down, and get to work. That's at about noon. By 4, there's a sound check. I finish that and then go back and work some more. As soon as the opening act hits their first note, I start getting dressed and get on stage and repeat the next day.
rinse and repeat. Do it again. Uh, Another thing too, a question that came about was with all the people that you've played with, is there people, projects, and things like that? Is there one that people are not really familiar with that you are more emotionally connected to?
Well, it's hard to say because it's like it's not unlike as you go through life. You meet your first girlfriend like when you're a freshman in high school or something, and then
Hmm.
another one. That didn't work out. So 2 years later, and then the first girl you meet, they're all special to you. They all mean something to you. So it's hard to favor one over the other. And any band I've ever been in has been important to me emotionally and personally. Uh, very, very much like a relationship with another person being in a band. Uh, Even so much that in the early days, when you had a band, the little camaraderie you have together, one guy would go out and see some other band, and the band members go, "Hey, what are you doing going out watching that band?" And so he was a jealous boyfriend when his girl was talking to some other guy. So it's an emotional thing together that you can have. Some have been just more business oriented and a little bit less personal interaction, but that's not very common. Most bands, you have a real personal connection with everybody in it.
Yeah.
And I've been lucky to play with some great people, so would be hard to pick one.
Yeah. Um, I I understand, but not at your level. But I understand what you're saying. So
Yeah, and I've been in a bunch of bands and been in a lot of situations with musicians that weren't bands where I'm working with them or working on a record and things like that. And it's a pretty good group. We have a good way of eliminating the guys that are trouble.
mm-hmm.
They'll there was a guitarist that I knew one time who was really a good player. And people would say about him, "Yeah, he's a great player. He plays with everybody once," and then they never have him again because of his trouble. But and people grow too. I know people in their younger years they were impossible, and now they figured it out and they got together and they're doing well. So
Yeah,
it's life basically.
it's life, and I've got to ask you something for me because over the years of playing at this age, I keep making it sound like I'm really old, but I'm old enough. My hands have gotten slower. Billy, you're still fast. What do you do?
Yeah, well, fast is only a color on the palette. It's not an essential thing.
Hmm.
People get competitive, and I don't like to see that because uh, I don't think it's very productive to get competitive. And a lot of people will see a player playing fast, say, "Oh, you don't need to play fast. Fast players aren't," and they'll start because they can't play fast. I say, "No, no, 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 no. He's not better than you because he's fast. He's different than you, and you're different than him. You don't have to go after him and try to slit his throat or demean him or insult him online. We're all in this together, and whatever speed you play at is totally cool." So. Uh, Fast is a skill that you can develop, just like running. You start running, and you're not, as you learn and get a coach. there are techniques to it that you can learn and help you get faster at it. Similar with music, classical players are presented with all kinds of music that
Oh,
they have to play, and the orchestra leader will give them, here's your sheet music, go for it. And some of it, if it's Paganini or some insane, the violinist has got to figure it out. And there's a way, where there's a will, there's a way. There's a way to play anything. There's a way to do substitutions or slide through something in a way that it sounds like you did it all, but you didn't necessarily have to articulate every microscopic component. Uh, I practice consistency and time. I work with a metronome. Some bass players don't like that. I happen to like it. Sit down with that metronome and lock in every note exactly in time, all the time, no matter what. And I notice sometimes when I'm working with a metronome, I get ex, exhausted and sore quicker, which means I'm pushing in a different way. Why? Because maybe when I wasn't with a metronome, I was possibly slipping, maybe. So that tells me I gotta continue working with it. So I'll sit there for hours with a little annoying click and drive my wife crazy, and the cat's crazy too. And but just stay in time all the time. And then every time I do a master class, I always look at the guy's feet as he's playing. I go, that was really good, but now can you do that and tap your foot and keep it in time for the whole entire passage you just played? And a lot of times they can't. And they start, and I see their feet starting to fumble and flip and not land where they should land. I go, and it's essential. Keep some part of your body moving in time. You see jazz players, they move from the waist. They move like that. Rock players use the head or the foot. So, but keeping time is essential. And but as far as it being fast, being an asset, it's a color on your palette. It's a tool in your toolkit. Sometimes it really works. If a drummer does a really fast chicka babu bapa, and you can play chicka babu bapa on bass,
mhm.
same thing. It locks together. Sounds great. The guitar player is even happy about it, and they're really happy about anything. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's because they're off
Jokes.
in their own world. uh, you know, the thing with the playing fast and being locked in with the drums and things like that. So for my playing, I play in one particular band, and it's we're all hired guns, so to
Yeah.
speak. So you've got different drummers. Depends on where we're playing. We've got different drummers, but they all play different. You've got one guy who's playing with feel and emotion that feels good, but it goes like this. But then when you've got one that plays really fast, or you've got one that's just locked in with the album. So as a bass player like yourself, what do you do in your head? Uh, are you
You
still?
gotta you gotta adapt to the
Hmm.
drummer. I wouldn't ask him to adapt to me, but I'm going to adapt to him. I'm going to watch him like a hawk. And a lot of times when I do tours, I get together with just the drummer and we go through the whole set for a
Mm,
couple of days. Me and Pat Torpy, when he was alive, God rest his soul, uh, uh, we would go into, we live right down the street from the rehearsal. We'd meet there a week before we even thought about starting rehearsing with the band. And we go through every single song and a bunch of other songs and learn some new stuff that had nothing to do with the band and just got to know each other as players so well. And I've done that to some degree, to a greater or lesser degree, with almost every drummer I've worked with. Just sit down and figure out his nuances. That's kind of our job as bass players. We gotta figure that out. I'm not gonna try to change the drummer or anyone really for that matter. But I'm just going to try to figure out how do I adapt to that. And when you do adapt to one drummer, and then two, and then five, and then 10, and then 20, you've got a toolkit of things that you can do depending on the drummer. If he's a little ahead of it, you know what to do. If he's behind it, you know what to do. If he does a fill and doesn't come back exactly on one, you know how to deal with that. Things of that nature. And every drummer is really different. And that's the
mhm.
guy. The drummer drives the band. That's the guy. Bass player gives. The drummer is the time, bass player is what key are we in, and the guitar players are the frosting on the cake and the singer, which of course you see the frosting, and that's what makes a cake beautiful. But underneath that cake is bass players and drummers pretty much. So that's a good thing. And they're all so different. I just did a thing for like an event, and they had a couple of musicians play, and they had this one particular band that had a really great guitar player. Another band that had some great songs. And I remember watching one of the bands, and I'm thinking, man, that drum kit sounds awful. Jeez, that's what's going on. Is it the sound man? You know, and it just did not. It was not working for me at all. It never gave me an anchor point to lock into the song. And I'm thinking, I don't know what it is. Maybe the monitors, or maybe they need to change the heads, or maybe who knows what it is. Next band got up, and this drummer, those drums sounded unbelievable. The whole room was stopped to turn around and look at what's going on with the drums. Amazing. It's incredible. A stick in your hand on a drum, depending on the person, can sound wildly different.
Yeah.
I did a rock and roll fantasy camp, and me and another bass player, either Rudy Sarzo or Phil Susan, were in a room, and we're supposed to audition the drummers so we can rate them and we can decide what band they're going to be in, because they have a whole bunch of bands get together at the fantasy camp, and then we coach them through learning some songs, blah blah blah. So this drummer, we were worn out because these drummers just nobody really had it together. They were trying. We're giving the best advice we could give them, and you know, the guy would come in, one bass player would play with him, the next guy I'd play with that guy, and we were just exhausted from trying to make sense of the drum. I turned my back to the kit and did not see who sat down behind it. And all of a sudden, one stick on the snare drum, pa, I spun around. It was Vinny Appice. He
No.
walked in without me seeing it. And all he had to do was hit the snare drum once. And I said, whoa, man, a universe of difference. Unbelievable. I said, Vinny, I didn't see you sitting down, man. It's the moment you hit that snare drum, the whole room changed. It was mind blowing. A total pro and a grandmaster comes down and hits one snare hit, and instantly the whole room spun around. Pretty amazing. So as bass players, we have to deal with it. And there's a million ways you can go about it. And even if a drummer's timing is shaky, I played with drummers that their timing was shaky. I played with guys that were right on. I played with Dennis Chambers, who that was like a PhD in time. He was just so great. And he knew exactly what he was doing at all time, and he knew where he was at all time. And it changed my life. It was really, it was such a quantum leap for me to understand music from playing with him. It was so great. So yeah, drummers, super important.
Well, there we have it, bass players out there, and drummers, and guitar players and singers.
Oh, we love guitar
Drums.
players. We love them.
Yeah, they're the frosting. Like I said, they're the frosting on the cake. I like
Absolutely.
that.
And frosting, if you go to a cake store, you don't even know what kind of cake it is, but you see that frosting. Oh, I want that one. So you find out later it's carrot cake. So, oh boy, so I was going for
Hey.
chocolate. But anyway, no,
Well,
I've been inspired by a lot of guitarists as well. And they're, and singers and piano players. But yeah, just music in general it's referred to as the great art. There was a public broadcasting radio station, and they were giving away a series of CDs for donors. And the title of the set of CDs of various classical composers was The Great Art. And I think Schopenhauer said it was the greatest art of all. The music is, and he proved it out philosophically why that's true. And I agree. I think it really is the great art. Movies are wonderful. Paintings are wonderful. Sculpture, many artistic forms there are. Beautiful, great thing about humanity. But music, I believe, is the greatest art there is.
I have to agree with you on that because, like you said, we could be doing this, and if your video is clear, but you you couldn't watch it and you couldn't listen to it because of the audio. It sounds so bad. At least that's how I take it on, the visual or the sound. I go for the sound first. I got to hear it because if I
Yeah,
can hear it, I can feel it.
you can close your eyes, you can close your mouth, and you can plug your nose, but I guess you can plug your ears too. But they naturally stay open. I plug my ears on stage now because I'm pretty deaf after 60 years of 130 dB every night.
Oh, yeah, that's got to be harsh on the ears. Really
Yes,
hard. Uh, Again, Billy, this is I could go on talking to you forever because you are that approachable
thanks, man.
guy, and
It was my
it's
pleasure.
I've learned a lot and I've enjoyed this, and I think everybody's going to really enjoy everything that you've had to say, and we're going to get people to go all the way to the East Coast to see the Fell, and then we're
Yeah,
going to get everybody to buy the record and
right
follow.
on. There
They
more
can
more to
go.
come. The EP is out and downloadable. The record's coming soon in vinyl also. And
Oh,
these first couple of shows we're doing are just warm ups. We plan to play everywhere we can, and be wonderful to see my friends out there to come see shows with the Fell. We're going to do our best for you. I guarantee you.
I'm going to put you on the spot and say, if the vinyl comes out and I buy a vinyl, are you going to sign it for me?
Of course, my pleasure.
Let me
So
make
I
sure
do.
the
I do
record.
it. I always do a joke when I'm signing things. Sure, sign it. And as I write my name, I go Peter Frampton. Not really Peter.
Oh
Another great
man,
player.
yeah, yeah. When you were talking about live albums earlier, I wanted to bring up
Wow.
Frampton Comes Alive. Um,
Oh, great.
yeah, there's so many out there. Things recorded at Fillmore too and stuff like that. It's great.
Yeah.
Um, Again, I got to be aware of your time. I've got all the time in the world for you, but you're a busy guy. You probably got to get to playing with the cat, feeding the cat. My dog's waiting, and you're probably gonna record something. So
Right on. Good for you.